Hey guys, I'm Artyom. I'm front-end developer at Too Much Coffee. Every beginner front-end developer knows this feeling when you can't choose what you should learn. In our days, there are so many frameworks, languages, libraries, and other tools, and really so hard to make a choice. Of course, you can start learning some language and switch to another after a while. But maybe you just want to make some small app for yourself and you really don't want to spend years for study. Or maybe you're at the very beginning of mobile development and you already read tons of these articles and watched this video like a top 10 the best frameworks and best languages, and you still can't make a choice. I have 5 years of web and mobile development experience and I've gone through all this, and in this video I'll share with you all my experience and I help you to choose what language and framework you should use and why, and which tools and libraries you should use and why it's the best choice for you. If you watch this video, it means you decided to make your own app, and maybe even not just one. I'm pretty sure that you don't want to burn out at the beginning or after the first steps. That's why you need to take a look at the whole picture, realize and prepare for difficulties that you faced. Understanding how many libraries and tools you should cover could save you time. Maybe after this quick look you understand how much time approximately you should spend till your first step, and after that you maybe said just, okay, thanks, without me. You're welcome. The first thing is important to understand that if you're going to do something more complicated than just some simple app like a calculator or something like that, that regardless of the tools and libraries and language that you choose, and if you need to store some user data and if you need to synchronize your data on some devices, and if you need some business logic, you will need a backend. The options for the backend I'll tell in this video later. Therefore, if you thought that you would not have to bother with this, it's better to find out about it right away. Having decided on the direction, you need to choose the platform or platforms for which you are going to write. The choice of the frameworks or language will depend on this. Briefly about the main options. Native, those that are only supported by specific OS. The first, Android. Everything is clear here. According to random numbers, more than 70% of wearable devices running on Android. Java is the first official native language for Android. Good control on a low level, but difficult for beginners. Kotlin is positioned as the second official language for Android. Compatible with Java, but more accurate and simple. More preferable for beginners than Java. iOS, if you focus only the iPhones and iPads. Languages. Objective-C for the long time was the only language for iOS development. The syntax is based on the C language. Due to the fact that this language not so development friendly, it loses to modern Swift. Swift is the second language for iOS. It is clearer and simpler than Objective-C, therefore more preferable for beginners. The second category is hybrid that focus on the Android and iOS. React Native is the most popular cross-platform development framework. Language, JavaScript, owned by Facebook, has a huge community. Ionic is a framework that allows using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for developing mobile applications. Flutter is a quite popular choice for mobile development. Language Dart is quite similar to JavaScript, owned by Google, development well. Xamarin is a .NET-based framework. Language C#, owned by Microsoft. Other option is Accelerated Titanium, Apache Cordova, its formerly PhoneGap, and other. There are a huge number of articles and tables with pros and cons on every frameworks and languages, and unexperienced developers get into difficulties when choosing. I offer you my simple chain that will lead you to the right choice using the exception method. First of all, let's see what can be excluded at once. Native languages, Swift and Kotlin, great performance, leave it. Take statistic on the use of frameworks by developers for last 2 years and select top 2. There are React Native and Flutter. Cordova, Ionic, Xamarin is a good option, but we are looking for the optimal. For sure, performance is better on writing Swift and Kotlin, but is it worth spending time for learning 2 languages to write one simple functionality? If there is a need to share your code with a web version, React Native allows easily transferring your code written in JavaScript to the browser, unlike other languages and frameworks. And if you choose a Dart language, you can only use with the Flutter. So, I guess the choice is obvious. This is a short integration video for those who are looking for the technical partner to build the new project or get support with the existing one. Too Much Coffee team provides product development services for startups and big brands. Our services include both outsource and outstaff models. We will get you covered with web and mobile development as well as UI/UX design creation. We can cover your needs in terms of JavaScript development of any complexity. Since 2015, we've spent over 205,000 hours developing application using JavaScript. The main frameworks and libraries we use are TypeScript, React.js, Angular, React.js, React Native, Ionic, Flutter, Node.js, Next.js. We can recommend the right combination of frameworks to deliver your application in a fast and convenient way. We completed hundreds of POCs, MVPs and big projects, covering them with elegant UI/UX designs. The top 5 niches we are focused on being SaaS, fitness, e-learning, marketplace and booking. So, contact us and enjoy your coffee while we are developing the app for you. So, you've chosen the React Native. I tell you what, it's an excellent choice. However, I have to say that you don't know the JavaScript and React Native, then you should learn and understand at least the basic. Start with JavaScript, learn from books, courses, YouTube video to your liking. It's the same with React Native, courses, tutorials, up to you. If you have time and desire, you can start learning React.js library after the JavaScript, and after that the React Native. React.js library is very similar to React Native. So after mastering it, you can just need to understand the differences between React and React Native. And now you can write both web and mobile. Also, I would definitely recommend it using TypeScript in your projects. TypeScript is a JavaScript add-on used for type definition in development. Maybe not at the very beginning, but in your next steps and your next projects, I think you should use it. The next step is to make sure you know what you need for develop and deploy your app. If you want your application to have registration, login, user data, synchronizing on other devices, then you need a backend. There are the following options. The first option is CloudKit. If you are focused on iOS and you don't need any business logic, just data storage is the option for you. The second option is to use any backend as a service. Firebase, Mobile Hub, Azure Mobile Tools, GraphCMS and other. The third option is to write a custom backend and host it on Heroku, Azure Virtual Machine, etc. One more thing you need to know is if you want to publish your application in App Store, you need to pay $99 per year, and if you want to publish on the Play Store, you need to pay $25 a year. At the start of the app creation, you should choose between Expo CLI or React Native CLI. Expo is a framework with a set of tools and services for React Native. For beginners, I would recommend using Expo for several reasons. The first one is easier and faster creating an application from the beginning to the deploy. Expo will relieve you from the headaches by doing everything under the hood. In other words, Expo will probably help you not to fail too early. The second reason is in Expo no native code. I don't say that without Expo you dig into the native code every time, but with Expo you don't need even know what native code is. The third reason you use an Expo is access to the large number of built-in APIs that allows you to easily work with camera, GPS location, push notification, and others. Still, it should be understood that the Expo is an option for the first steps. If you expand your application, that in the near future you will face in the fact that Expo will not support that function that you want to integrate. So I recommend it for the first step use an Expo, but the next steps you should switch to the React Native CLI. To sum up, learn JavaScript to the basic level, then learn React or React Native to the basic level, choose Expo or no Expo. Sounds real. My another advice is using functional components and hooks when developing, because vector of development React Native goes toward the functional components. Let's now decide which libraries you might need. Regardless of what your application is for, it should look good and shouldn't take long. There are some options for that. React Native Elements, React Native Material UI, Native Base, Material Kit. It will be not difficult to figure out how to use this library, so your application will quickly be filled some buttons, tabs, etc. If necessary, you can easily find ready-made libraries for animation, chats, maps, etc. The second must-have libraries is libraries for navigation, and I think this is just one option, is React Navigation. Understanding how to switch from the one screen to another should be quick enough. Other thing, it will be a little bit more complicated, but still there are a lot of information in the React Navigation documentation. There are a lot of tutorials, so it's really easy to figure out. You will definitely need to request, receive, and display data in your application. In the official documentation, React Native offers basic Fetch API and Axios options. In most cases at entry level, it will be enough for you. You will be able to receive data asynchronously, modify it, and catch errors. In the future, I recommend taking a closer look at GraphQL and client for it, for example, Apollo client. GraphQL is a query language for retrieving only the required data. GraphQL then should be used on the backend too. Apollo client will probably allow you not to use Redux, MobX, Redux Saga, Rix.js, etc. But until you reach the high of REST API capabilities, don't rush to use anything and everything. If you realize the data that you received you need to use in several places may be modified and send this data like a props, maybe you should think about the data storage. First approach is you start using Redux and MobX. You create a store where you keep your data received from the server, write actions, reducers, selectors, start using Redux Saga and Rix.js with observables, and always try to synchronize your local storage with remote server. It even sounds confusing, doesn't it? But still, it's a great option for your state management. If your backend allows you to use GraphQL, use it. Basic Apollo client settings don't require deep client research. Later, you may have to dig into documentation, for example, understand how to work with cache, but in the meantime, it will be enough to read how GraphQL works, how to connect to Apollo, and how to write query annotation. If you need to create a login or registration form, you definitely shouldn't try to make some custom inputs and submit buttons. Use ready-made solutions. Formic and React Hook Form are the main options. I would recommend to use React Hook Form because code looks cleaner and there are hooks. These 5 points are enough to complete 19% of your initial tasks. For everything else, go to the React Native libraries list or make your own custom components. So let's summarize the training plan of create your own mobile application. Learn JavaScript at least at the basic level. Learn React Native at least at the basic level, or if you have time, learn React.js and then React Native. Choose an option for the backend. Decide what to use, Expo or React Native CLI. Create UI. Add navigation. Add fetching data from the server. Add state management if needed. Add all the required components that you needed in your application. Now you see the whole picture. And it seems too much, but now you know how much. I hope this video was helpful. Right now our team is working on more meaningful content about both tech and business development. Feel free to share your opinion in the comment section. Likes, dislikes, comments, shares and subscription are generally matters. See you soon.